I want to introduce this amazing person who's going to come to the stage and give us all that she has to give. So could you stand up for me, please? Let me let you know that my name is Amanda Sapp. I am the VP of Media at Bread of Life, Inc., leading as general manager of amazing 102.5 FM, a community radio station licensed to cover inside of the 610 loop of Houston, Texas. Now, as we get started, I need you to close your eyes. Well, first you got to see what I'm doing. You got to see what I'm doing. And you're going to say, I'm open and willing to receive and to give love. We want to welcome and call into what we want today, in all positivity and love. Because everyone knows that when you're in love, you're inspired. And if you're inspired, you can create. So please do this with me. We're going to do it 3 times. I'm open and willing to receive. I don't hear you. And to give love. One more time, I'm open and willing to receive and to give love. Now, don't move, because I got some information for you, some info that you absolutely need. If you've never heard of GalsNGear, this is your first time coming, let me just share this with you. GalsNGear is a movement to bring equity to women in media and entertainment. They believe tequity equals access and training and visibility with a community to support you. They partner with manufacturers, broadcasters, and other industry groups to lead change by empowering women. Now, y'all, we are all in here today celebrating 10 years, so I'm going to need you to clap as much as you possibly can as we welcome this person who is coming onto this stage. You can start clapping. She is the founder of GalsNGear and Chief Creative Officer of DeLuise Enterprises. Please welcome onto this NAB stage where content comes to life, Amy DeLuise.
That's Amanda Sapp, ladies and gentlemen. How about that, Amanda Sapp? All right. Thank you so much for being here. You know, you can sit down now. I'm a little more chill, so it's all good. I'm Presbyterian. We sit in hard chairs and don't do anything with our hands. So I'm so grateful for all of you being here today, especially at a show as busy as this show. There's so many things to do and see and so many people to meet. So it's so great that you're here in this room. And I think a few more people are going to be joining us throughout the morning. So I hope that you'll take away the power of women together. Women supporting women learning together, women upskilling together. We are also, I think, going to have a few guys joining us who mentioned to me that they were going to be coming on the All Access Pass. And that's great, too, because we need allies. And we can't do this without everybody moving the industry forward. So I really appreciate all of you being here. I think it's going to be a great morning. It is our 10th anniversary at the show. In fact, it's literally the day of our 10-year anniversary, because I know. As an event producer, I'm going to take credit for that, but that's just happenstance. But 10 years ago today, on this date in April, was our very first event on the NAB show floor. And our hashtag did 11 million impressions on Twitter because everybody was like, where has this been? You know, and people were using the hashtag at booths back when they still had booth babes. Guys were posting with the hashtag saying, I don't need a naked woman to sell me this lens. Thank you very much. It's awkward. I have daughters. So we've had allies from the very beginning. So, be sure to spread the word. Make sure people go to the GalsNGear.tv website and join us. There's no membership fee on purpose because it's an open community for every single woman who wants to be a part of it and all of our allies who are supporting all the things that we do. So thank you for being here this morning. And without further ado, I want to welcome our guest, the wonderful Dr. Michele Wright. She is a woman who's done many, many things, which you'll learn about in the course of our conversation. She's the Director of Business Development and Outreach for SMPTE. She's an engineer. She is a Tuskegee, Alabama native. Dr. Wright is the 2024 National Society of Black Engineers Golden Torch Award honoree for lifetime achievement in the industry. Yeah. She has got it going on. Dr. Wright knows what she's doing. In 2022, she was the USA Today Woman of the Year for Arkansas. You can give her a hand for that, too. She was part of the Nations of Women, Changemakers, Global Leadership Award. She's picked up so many awards since I wrote this bio, I can't even keep up. But, you know, it's great that women and others recognize what Dr. Wright has done, but what's more important is that we're going to learn about her journey, her very interesting career journey. And, you know, when I named this conference Resilience Redefined, I really had no idea what world we were going to be in right now, and I think y'all know what I'm talking about. I live in Washington, D.C., which I like to call affectionately the nuclear zone right now. So I think it's going to be really important to hear from Dr. Wright, not just about her advanced degrees in engineering and public policy, but her work on visibility and access and opportunity for underrepresented communities, and an emphasis on health equity, because we're going to be talking about health and self-care later on this morning. So without further ado, I'm going to jump down here and have a conversation with Dr. Wright. Let's give her a big welcome. Right, so I'm going to start big picture with the industry. Then we'll get down to brass tacks. From your vantage point at SMPTE, from your vantage point throughout your career, where does our industry stand on this path to what we like to call in GalsNGear tequity, equal opportunities for all genders and backgrounds? Do you have a sense of where you think we are?
I can tell you more where I feel we're not. I feel we definitely have a long ways to go. And that's why I want to take the opportunity to thank you, Amy, because you are a trailblazer. And for GalsNGear to celebrate 10 years of not only operating, but excellence and making a difference is amazing. So I think you deserve a hand of applause.
Thank you.
We are a lot farther with organizations like GalsNGear, but we still have so far to go. If you think about it, women make up approximately 50% of our population, but roughly 15 to 18% of STEM. I don't think that surprises anyone. And that number should be a lot larger. You know, so many stereotypes growing up. You know, men are the scientists, the engineers. Women, you know, the fashion people make the clothes and do this. So we have to continue changing that narrative and to look around and see all these beautiful faces here, not only at NAB, but this conference really continues to move that needle.
Excellent. Well, I want to touch on some of your highlights of your successes and initiatives at SMPTE before we get into some other things. Just tell me some of the things that you've been working on at SMPTE.
So my title is the Director of Business Development and Outreach, and that's what I love to do. I love to reach out, get to know people like this organization and others. So really taking the opportunity to let those who are outside the box of SMPTE know who we are. And can someone tell me what is SMPTE most known for?
Yes, raise SMPTE bars.
SMPTE bars, the color bars. So what I do, I help bring partners. That could be organizations, that could be different members, that could be students. We've done a lot historically at SMPTE. We've brought on our first HBCU, Historically Black College and University, Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta. We brought out our first Bernard College, all-women organization. And we continue to push the needle. And that's why our theme for SMPTE is We Are One. And that's so important for each and every one of us in this room to understand. We are one, because I'm one that believes in the power of synergy, that we are stronger together than apart. So if you're not a part of SMPTE, we invite you to become a part and help us continue to make a difference in this industry. Uniquely enough, there's a gap, not just in engineers and technicians and video people, but also for women and underrepresented groups. And each of us can make a difference. So if you're already not a member, your organization is not a member, and you're not a partner, we are stronger together than we are apart.
Excellent. That's so true. I want to get to this this topic of ours of resilience, and I think part of resilience is really a journey, and you've certainly had a journey in your career, and I'm wondering if you could just share with us a little bit of that journey.
So interesting enough, how many of you all have heard of Tuskegee, Alabama? Oh, wow, okay, that's pretty great. I was actually, so today is my birthday. I turned 59 years old.
Yeah.
I just thought of that because I was born in Tuskegee. In the hospital, they did the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. If you don't know about the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, look it up. And I truly believe, I always say health equity is in my DNA. So, but interesting enough, when I was born, I had a severe learning disability and speech impediment. I actually struggled to learn how to talk until the age of 5. And I was telling someone last night, I took speech therapy up until high school. When I got to high school, I said, I don't care anymore. If they don't understand me, that's their problem. But life goes on. And I was telling this person last night, I think it was Daleda, that it's still, and thank you, beautiful, there's still certain alphabets I struggle with. But that's the beauty of my journey. You don't stop because of the struggle. You take the struggle to inspire and motivate others. And that has been the unique part of my life, taking your struggle and how do you use it, not just for yourself, not to just be a better you, but how do I inspire others to be a stronger, a better, a wiser them. And so struggling to learn how to talk, you struggle to learn how to express yourself. And so eventually I just came into learning who I am. You all can tell I'm a little different. I saw the looks, you all like, what is all with the bling bling? It's just me, it's nothing crazy. Isn't it beautiful to be able to embrace who you are? So, and guess what? When you get comfortable with it, others will too. So I wanted to be a solid gold dancer growing up. And my dad broke the news to me, you can't dance. But I bet you can do math and become an engineer. And so I did. I did engineering. I got my first engineering degree. I got my second engineering degree. Then I woke up and said, you know what? I want to go outside the box. And I decided to move to Arkansas to sell biscuits. I actually became a salesperson with Pillsbury. You can't make this stuff up. But guess what? People were like, an engineer can't sell. Who wants to talk to an engineer? They wanted to talk to me. I was #1 in the country in sales. Then I got into pharmaceutical biotechnology. Was #1 in the country. It wasn't hard, just learning to listen, value people, and meet them where they are. People know it when you're genuine and authentic. But to have the opportunity to go around the world and come back to an organization known for greatness, known for membership, known for standards, and bring all that engineering expertise back to the table. And again, I'm talking about SMPTE. It's just remarkable. So sometimes in life, you take different tours. It's okay. Every day is a new opportunity to change who you are to pursue your passion. And you know what? You can be unapologetic about it. Do you, and do you to the best you can do.
All right. Right? So I want you to pivot here. You got a little bit into the health equity area, and I'm just wondering, we're always asked about balance, work-life balance. In fact, when I started GalsNGear, I said to people when I was helping put women on stages, I said, we don't want to be asked this question unless the guys on the panel are also being asked this question. And there are plenty of guys who want to speak to this, by the way. We just want to talk about the tech, but now we're going to talk about work-life balance. So I'm just curious, what does that mean for women? Where does self-care and wellness fit into the picture? Just give us some of your insights.
I think it's so important. Women are so special. I don't think anybody else can carry the burdens, the loads, the weight on their shoulders like a woman. I mean, if you're not a wife, you're a mom. If you're not a mom, you're taking care of the community. You're running the business. You're making sure everything is done. And because we have a tendency to be so nurturing, we so often put others before ourselves. I'm sure you know that firsthand. But isn't it amazing, even on the airplane, they tell you put your oxygen mask on before you help anyone? And sometimes I believe we just forget that charity starts at home, and it is okay to take care of us. Sometimes we feel guilty. We give our all, even when it's nothing else to give. The gas tank just gets empty. So remember, we have to make sure we're taking care of our mental well-being, our physical well-being, our spiritual well-being. So make sure you're taking care of yourself and giving back to yourself. There's not a week I'm not going to go on the TJ Maxx app. That's my therapy. Okay, I guess nobody else loves TJ Maxx.
We need to get them as a sponsor.
Oh, yes. TJ Maxx should be calling me today. But just make sure you're showing yourself some love and make sure you're showing each other some love. It's amazing the difference sometimes, a kind word, a smile. When I walked in, I didn't know most of you all, but you smiled. And I thought, I'm in the right place at the right time. People are going through, and don't be misled by somebody's smile. Sometimes we don't know what people are going through. Sometimes people may be on the edge of giving up. Your smile, your hug, your kind word can sometimes make a difference. Don't ever forget that. If we can't do nothing else, we can smile and be kind to each other. But don't forget to be kind to yourself as well.
That's so true. And in fact, if you look in your goodie bags, we have a couple little things. We don't have a lot, but our friends at Digital Anarchy have helped us give you a couple things for self-care, one of which is an eye mask so you can sleep better, because women don't get enough sleep, I can tell you that. So, and there's some chapstick in there because it's dry as a bone here in Las Vegas. So anyway, make sure you enjoy those things and help us get more sponsors so there can be more goodie bags next time. We're going to get TJ Maxx to give us something.
Yes.
So, one of the things about self-care you kind of touched on, which is if you're not feeling nurtured and you're not feeling supportive, it's very hard for you to reach out to the next person. And I think that one of the things I've learned in the GalsNGear network is just how great this network already is for women. So I know last night at our party, how many of you came to the party last night? Wasn't that awesome? What a great vibe, right? That was a great, great party. And I think a couple things that I took away from that. One was when people introduced themselves, they weren't just all about talking about themselves. They were like, well, tell me about you. What do you need? Somebody had just lost a job, and people were jumping in right away with like, how can we help you? How can we figure out who you should meet? Well, who's here? Somebody came up to me and said, you got to talk to this guy from Maxon because he's got this cool idea that could really help GalsNGear. Everybody was in this like helping mode. And I think that is also self-nurturing. I think we get in this industry, I mean, I've been coming to the show a long time. I think Karen Cohen probably has us all beat because she's been here since it was invented, right, Karen? So, but, you know, if you've come to this show for a long time, you know that it's a bit of a wall building. You know, you go up to a booth and they're like, are you important? Are you on the list? Do you have an invitation? Do you have a meeting? Do you look like somebody who could buy something? Let me look at your badge. Do you seem important enough for me to talk to? You know, and so we're trying to change that dynamic. And I think that self-care and being open to connecting with people and seeing what they need is a really key part of being in GalsNGear. That's our mode, is how can I help you? So I hope you'll think about that today. We're going to have some breaks where you can do that and chat with other people. I do want to mention we have T-shirts in the back that the NAB store, Wave back there, has kindly brought us our own little display. This is a big deal for us, okay, because they have like little NAB branding and GalsNGear branding. So, you know, please buy some T-shirts. That would be so fabulous. But anyway, I think just, you know, being in that self-care and open mode is really key.
Absolutely.
So I'm wondering, you know, turning to advice for women in tech with careers, you know, there's a lot going on in the industry, a lot of shifts, a lot of risks, you know, people are nervous about the environment, the tariffs, the this, the that. I'm hearing a lot on the show floor, a lot of shifting sands. Is there some advice you have for women in careers, either where they themselves have, you know, technical skills the way you do, or they're managing a team that has technical skills? I mean, do you have some advice?
I would say, I didn't bring my bag up here, but my bag.
A bag.
I bought a bag, my color.
You brought the color bars.
The color bars, yes.
Isn't that adorable?
If you want one, you have to come by the SMPTE desk and visit with us.
Where is the SMPTE desk?
So it's right by registration in the North Hall.
Okay. Let's
So
all go over there and get one.
yes, that is my bag, and it says, "You got this." And sometimes in life, you may not have a Amy DeLuise or friends or mentors or supporters. Sometimes you may be the only one that looks like you. Sometimes you may not feel like an integral or valuable part of the team. And sometimes you may not feel that you are valued for what you bring to the table. But if nobody else knows who you are, you got to know who you are. And you have to make sure you take time to remind yourself of who you are. Make sure, too, you surround yourself with people that will remind you who you are, even if you forget. We can't be strong all the time. We can't have good days all the time. And we're not able to hold our head up all the time. When you have those moments, you need someone to tell you, you know what? I think you're special. I think you're beautiful. I think you're wonderful. And so sometimes it gets tough. I can't tell you I've always felt value at the team. I mean, at the table.
How many people here have felt like they were not valued at the table?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell you I've always felt a part of the team, but I can tell you this, I never doubted my value. Don't ever doubt your value. Know who you are, know your value, and know the difference you are making, and stand on that. And sometimes you have to look in the mirror and encourage yourself. Always encourage yourself. And again, make sure your circle is there to help you when you can't.
You know, to that point, you talked about this major pivot you took to sell biscuits for
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
What advice can you give for those of us who are facing career pivots right now? And we're going to be having this workshop coming up next about financial wellness, which is, I think, a piece of this. I know many of us are facing pivots in our careers, maybe ones that were slightly unexpected. How did you come to that pivot? How did you, I mean, I know you say it so quaintly and lovely, but I bet it was a little more complicated than that. What made you decide, okay, I'm going to just jump on this totally different career path right now?
It's interesting because I'm one, I believe in getting advice from certain people. And when I told my parents, I want to step aside temporarily from engineering and go into sales, they were like, she's going through midlife crisis. I'm like, but I'm not old enough to go through midlife crisis. They didn't understand. You know, sometimes in life you make decisions, people are not going to understand you, and that's okay. But I just knew something was calling me. I just knew it. And I believe it was sales. I knew I was a different engineer. Whereas the engineers that were reporting to me were kind of all sitting together. Now, that was a different time. We're talking almost 35, 40 years ago. They would sit together. I was the one out sitting with all the other people, asking about their family and what they were doing. And the engineering managers thought I was strange. And the people I sat at the table with thought I was strange. So everybody kind of felt a little uncomfortable. They like, this is not the culture. The engineers sit together, and the technicians and the people on the floor sit together. And I was like, well, how is that going to bring the type of culture we want together? So I knew I was always different. Even as a child, I would go out and sell things and sell enough. What are those, pecan logs that come in first, second, and third place? Because I knew how to connect and relate to people. So when I made up my mind I want to go into sales, it didn't make sense. So you know it was crazy? I had to take a step back to take two forward. But engineering has always been an integral part of who I am, part of my strategic thinking, the way I process. So it never leaves you when you pivot. It is okay to pivot. You may pivot every week. You may pivot every year. You may not pivot, but it is okay because pivoting to me is part of the puzzle of your life and being who you are. Sales is an integral part of who I am. There's nobody I'm afraid to talk to, and I will ask for the business. Anybody that comes by the SMPTE booth, I'm going to let you know right away. I'm going to ask you to become a member. Some people are not comfortable doing that. You have to earn the right, but I also know the value of what organizations like GalsNGear, who would want to be a member or a partner with your organization? I know the value of SMPTE, and when you know who you are, then you don't mind selling it and talking about it. So don't be afraid, because your passion changes. Don't be afraid.
Well, and as we learned last year or the year before when we had a negotiation skills workshop with one of our leaders, she says, if you don't ask, you don't get. And that's
right.
definitely something I've learned in my career and working with GalsNGear. I'll go up to anybody and ask them to be a sponsor.
Absolutely.
I don't have any problem asking. And if they say no, I just say, well, that's no today.
Yes.
You know I'll be back.
So that's why you've been here 10 years and counting.
Exactly.
That speaks for itself.
Yeah, and that goes for your career. You know, you have to ask for it. I was speaking to somebody who was talking about being asked by her boss to take on more work and more responsibilities, and I said, and you're going to ask for more money, right? And she's like, well, I feel uncomfortable about that. I'm like, well, the boys aren't uncomfortable about that. They've been asking even when they don't deserve it, frankly. So let's ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. So I think that is a piece of it. And that goes back to that core wellness piece too, because if you devalue yourself, how can others value you?
That's right.
And unfortunately, we've been taught that. We've totally been taught that. I was very lucky because my mother was, a strong advocate for women and involved with League of Women Voters and advocated for Title IX legislation. And then I attended a girls' school, which she insisted on, and made me a little unhappy once I got into those teenage years. But it was great, because in an all-girls school, who's the president of every club? A woman. Who's the captain of every sports team? A woman. Who's the editor of the school newspaper? A woman. It goes on and on. Who's the It's Academic team that won in the entire championship of the whole region, an all-girls It's Academic team, which had never existed before in our region. So I had all those role models.
And that is so important. I don't have my glasses on. I don't think anyone from SMPTE is here, but at SMPTE, our executive director is a female. Our head of education, director of education, is a female. Our director of membership is a female. If you haven't noticed, I'm a female. So, you know, SMPTE is great organization for showing their support for inclusivity. So I appreciate that. I was looking at all the people rallying behind you last night and the strong women that's in your circle. So kudos to what GalsNGear is doing as well, as far as embracing and diversity and inclusivity.
Thank you. And I want to say something that you said that I now think should be one of our taglines, because you started talking about the culture.
Yes.
And for us, community is the culture. And I think that's the ingredient. You know, when people talk about equity and they say, well, are you trying to replace all these men with women? And, you know, first of all, I say it's never a zero-sum game, because in our industry, there's so many new jobs, right? I mean, every 5 minutes, we've invented a new thing that somebody now needs to be an expert in, so now that's a new job. So I'm not worried about a zero-sum game, but I am feeling that that the culture is still an exclusive culture. So the opposite of inclusivity is exclusivity, and we don't want that. It's not helpful to move the industry forward, frankly.
Yes. I am just to be transparent, I'm an advocate of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mean, if you think about it.
Yes. Let's stand up for that, right? We're not going to stop talking about that.
No. And I'm glad you say that, because if you think about the opposite of diversity, uniformity, can you imagine a color bar with just one color? That wouldn't have helped the video technician out much, wouldn't it? Like you said, the opposite of inclusion is exclusion. Every single person in here has an important part. And so can you imagine if you were not invited to the table? And the opposite of equity is inequity. Everybody is important. Everybody has a place. You know, think about the rainbow. Can you imagine a one-color rainbow? So if we want to have a membership that looks a certain way, then we have to make sure we as an organization is reflective of the membership that we want. If not, we're not committed to that. And I think inclusivity is beautiful. Everybody has on different colors. I had eye surgery, so it's hard for me to see, but I'm seeing some colors. Can you imagine if we all had on the same color? Can you imagine if we all had the same background, the same hairstyle? I think it would be kind of boring. And that's the beauty of a community. Imagine going into a grocery store and having only the same item. How many times would you visit that grocery store? So it does take resilience as a community. Like I said, we're stronger together than we are apart. That brings in the power of synergy. Knowing who you are, knowing who your neighbor is, knowing who you are collectively and holistically. That is what is so important. That's why organizations like GalsNGear been around for 10 years. Organizations like SMPTE been around for 108 years. Are we where we need to be? No. But let's not ever tell ourselves we're good enough, Because at the time you tell yourself we're good enough, then you're not going to keep pushing ahead. And the day we start pushing ahead is the day it's over, game over. I would say the game is just beginning, and greater is still yet to come.
All right, well, I can't top that, so that's where we're going to leave it. We're going to take a little break. I want to encourage you to chat with each other. I want to encourage you to have a little bit of coffee, buy a T-shirt. I want to mention that something that Dr. Wright said about reaching out to other people and allyship. We have some resources that I'm going to have a QR code for later that includes a downloadable list of things you can do to be an ally, and that might be something you want to distribute in your organization to help build the culture of allyship. Because, as you said, we're just getting started.
Yes, and the best is yet to come. And thank you for being a part of the best.
And thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.